In this video, I'm going to help you solve some inequalities. And it says in this box here there are a couple steps, and so what I want to do is go through the steps with you before we start solving. So the steps to solving inequalities are the same as your steps to solving equations with the following exceptions. So when you multiply or divide by a negative number, then your inequality symbol will flip direction. So it will flip sides. So I'm going to give you a couple examples of those. So just when you're simplifying, we use that phrase PEMDAS. Parentheses, exponents, multiply and divide, you go in order left to right as you see it in your problem. Add, subtract would also go in order left to right as you see it in your problem. So you go this way through PEMDAS when you are simplifying. But you actually work backwards when you solve. So you start with the adding or subtracting that you might need to undo first before you do your multiplication or division. Then you undo an exponent and then parentheses typically. So for this first question, number 31, we have -5 times x is less than 10. And so what I'm going to undo is the multiplication, and I'm going to divide both sides by -5. And when I do that, because I am dividing by a negative, I can't forget that I got to flip my sign. So I'm going to put a little flip here. So now my symbol will flip, and 10 divided by -5 is -2. For the next example, again, take a look here. We have a negative times our x, so -6. I'm going to divide that on both sides of my equation here. And now I would have -2 is, don't forget, when you divide or multiply by a negative, you got to flip that sign. So my sign is now going to open the opposite direction. But when I leave my answer, I prefer to have my answer on my variable x on the left side. So see how this is opening up towards the x? I'm going to rearrange this so that my x is now on the left side. So in a way I am flipping it back, but notice how the symbol really does still open towards the x. So it's not really flipping the sign, it's rearranging my terms so that my x can be on the left side. So this would say x is greater than or equal to -2. For the next one, to solve for x, I'm going to divide by 12. And when you divide by 12, you're going to get -5 is greater than or equal to x. In this case, I did not need to flip my direction of my symbol because I divided by a positive, not a negative. But again, I like to have my x on the left side, so I'm going to rearrange this to say x is less than or equal to -5. Notice how we're still pointing at the x and opening towards the -5. For the next one, I'm going to divide by 8 on both sides. So I'd have -10 is less than or equal to x. But again, I like to have my x on the left side. So notice how I'm going to have my symbol opening towards the x and pointing at that -10. And I need that equal to underneath. For this problem here, number 35, I have an x minus 17, so I'm going to add 17 to both sides. When I do that, I will have x is less than or equal to. If I add those together, I'm going to get the number 12. For number 36, to solve for x, what I'm going to do is subtract 13 on both sides. And when I subtract 13, I will have x is greater than -4 minus 13 would give me -17. For number 37, what I'm going to do is subtract the 5 that's next to my x. So I have x is less than -8. And now again, I like to have my x written on the left side. So notice how this is opening up towards the x. I'm going to rearrange that so that my x is on the left. Now with this one, to undo a fraction, I would multiply by the reciprocal, which would be -2 over 1. So I'm going to multiply by -2 over 1. Don't forget here, we got to flip that sign because I am multiplying by a negative number. So x will now be, flip my sign, less than -18. And this would be my solution for number 38. For number 39, I'm going to also multiply by the reciprocal to get rid of that fraction. So that would be times negative 3 over 1. So times negative 3 over 1. Don't forget, because we're multiplying by a negative, we got to flip that sign. So now my x will be greater than negative 5 times negative 3 is going to be positive 15, and 15 divided by 1 is still 15. So my solution is x is greater than 15. Why don't you pause the video now and see if you can do the last 3 on your own and then check your work. For number 40, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal on both sides, which would be negative 4 over 1. Because I am multiplying by a negative, don't forget we got to flip that sign. So I have negative 4 times 8, which is negative 32. My sign needs to flip, and then I have my x. But I like to write my x always on the left side. So notice how my symbol is opening up towards the x and pointing at the negative 32. Open towards the x, point at the negative 32, and I need that equal to underneath. So my solution is x is greater than or equal to negative 32. For number 41, I'm going to divide by the negative symbol on both sides. Don't forget that we got to flip that sign. So x is now going to be less than or equal to negative 2.1. And our last one over here, I'm going to multiply by negative 3 on both sides to get rid of that fraction of negative 3. So my negative times negative will cancel out, and I'm left with x. Don't forget, we multiplied by a negative, so we got to flip that sign. So now my symbol will be less than or equal to instead, and the number negative 21, because when you multiply 7 by negative 3, you get negative 21.